Hello. Oh my goodness, look. You can see my naked OBS setup. How can I send that away to the nether regions? Okay. Hello. I am here. And so are you, presumably. Hello, Studio Fortress. Usually when I start these things, there's like 10 minutes of me trying to collect everything that I need for it. Like I've got my little earphones, and I've had another abortive attempt to set up a green screen, which I'm not going to go into here. I have my soda, and then just before I go, there's something else that's like 6 meters away on the other side of my room, and I have to get up. But I have everything now. In particular, I have my shiny new laptop. I cannot get over how excited I am about this laptop. I haven't had a computer of my own, a laptop, servers I have, but an actual laptop of my own for years and years. I've always kind of lived off the kindness of others, where others are people who pay me to do stuff, and I'm always like, oh yeah, I totally need a laptop to do this job. And then I do all my other stuff on it. And it's also true of servers as well. I used to keep my internet servers underneath the desk at various offices. I would basically work for internet connections. And is the sound okay? Am I making any sense? No, answer the first of those, not the second. And this is quite common, or it was quite common when I started. I remember finding out that the people who ran a really cool website, which was very influential, called suck.com, which I think I just read actually went down for the first time in years. Let me have a look. Is it down? It is down. Oh no, that's really sad. Okay. Let's go to the trusty web archive. So suck.com was a site that was run by embittered employees of hotwired.com, which was the first really commercial media-ish website run by the Wired people. And I shared their bitterness. I actually have a t-shirt marked fired because I used to work at Wired and then they fired me, and we were all disgruntled Generation Xers under the thumb of the boomerocracy. Anyway, suck.com was a sort of antidote to the relentless boomer boosterism of Wired, and looked like this, and that I cannot convey how beautiful this looked compared to most web pages at the time. It was like a styling piece of genius, and it really kind of, I think that people genuinely say that the snarky tone of media on the web really came from Suck, and it was certainly a big inspiration for NTK, which is the site that I wrote for nearly 10 years. So why were we talking about Suck? Oh yeah, the Suck guys ran their server underneath their desk at Hotwired because that was the only way you could get a permanent internet connection. And in fact, Hotwired itself was running under a desk, at least at one point. I think it was running out of an SGI Indie, which is Etaglow is online. Etaglow also knew the Suck people, Carl and Joey, and so I guess the entire industry was built on things underneath desks, either servers or people sleeping under them. Yes, we are under the boot of boomers and millennials now You're quite right. I think there's this weird thing about, because I have this sort of bonding moment with my daughter, who is not a millennial. I guess she's Generation Z, but like her and like us, we're kind of the demographic dips. There just aren't quite as many of us. We certainly were completely outnumbered by the boomers, and they will be outnumbered by the millennials. So there are these sort of like reinforcing waves that go down. And I think that does sort of change your take on things, because you're sort of a passenger on media waves rather than like leading them or having them directed at you, to break the analogy. So I don't know. I've always said to people when I'm listening to annoying old people complaining about millennials, I don't want to kind of like destroy all their visions and go, actually, you were really annoying too. So what I try and do is go, oh, if you don't like the millennials, then, you know, just wait a few years, because the next generation is lovely. And what I mean by that is lovely in my lights, which is incredibly bitter, sarcastic, snarky, and critical of all the other generations, which I guess is probably true of all generations. Okay, so I think what you're going to say, if you say anything looking at this, is saying that this looks very different from the desktop that you looked at last time. We were running, I think, XFDE or some other unpronounceable thing. What is it called? XFCE. And that looks like a very kind of traditional Linux desktop. It looks like, yeah, I went out and looked at the moon. We couldn't find it. I mean, I guess it was eclipsed, right? Like it was just eclipsed by clouds in San Francisco. So I guess it looks like that with the little mouse. Or is it a guinea pig? I don't know, some sort of generically cute thing. And while you were out, I stayed up far too late last night, and let me take you through my changelog of what I did. If you can see that, the brightness of the blue you might need to turn up the brightness on yours. It is a classic Studio Fortress. It was like AVH4, who was on the chat last time, said in the chat, oh, is this a Debian desktop, when I installed it? And you could see you could feel a tone of like slight disappointment in like, does Debian still look like this? Are we at least in 1996? And I don't have the thing of people, again, if we're talking demographics of my age, of like liking that Windows 95 aesthetic. There was a great article by some social scientists who described the people that grew up on Windows as the broken generation, which didn't quite take off as much as Generation X, thank God. But what they argued was that people who grew up in early user interfaces had so adapted to those user interfaces that they were, for all intents and purposes, broken for better UIs. Like they just wouldn't be able to learn, and we just have to wait for them to die. I don't think that's true. But I also don't feel particularly bonded to that interface. Clearly, I'm bonded. I imprinted on the hideous teletype, pseudo teletype of what I'm looking at here. Say if you can't read the blue, and I'll turn it off anyway. Syntax off turns everything to good old teletype white. That doesn't make any sense. So this is the changelog for what we've done, and the thing that I did a couple of things differently after I waved goodbye to you. We were messing around with an xmod map file, and I got rid of that and replaced it with these individual commands. And this is for those of you who don't understand my perversions, I use the caps lock button as both an escape key, because I use Vim a lot, and as a hyper button. Night. What? Just say goodnight. Then everyone's going to sleep, except for me. I have one of those daylight seasonal affective disorder lamps that's actually pointed at my head, which Liz has pointed out might not be good for me at like 9 o'clock in the evening, but I can't lean over to turn it off now, and in fact I can't take my eyes off it, so I'm now blind as well as perfectly attuned to the wrong sleeping pattern. I am, what did I do otherwise? Okay, so I created an SSH key and copied that to my other machine. So now I can SSH pretty easily, and I also did some SSH config stuff. So when I do this now, I go back to my old machine, and that's a useful thing to do if you ever want to while away the hours. If you look at SSH config, there's all of these cool things you can do to sort of create aliases for various SSH commands. So I did that, so now I can copy files over, and actually that's what I began to do. And the first thing I did was this, which is a really good hack. If you put in .x resources, that will be listened to by a lot of things, actually. I'm pretty sure it wasn't me who, oh yeah, maybe I do manually load that in. But anyway, these two initializations are a good way. This way is a good way of getting something reasonable on a laptop. This sets it up so it's high DPI, which is to say if you're on a like super high resolution screen, then it tries to turn the letters into something reasonably sized. That was going to be good for you because I couldn't see the letters on my screen. I doubt if you could. Then I made a local bin directory because I really like having a local bin directory. And then I copied across so that the window manager that I use is called DWM. DWM is talking about embittered. DWM is done by the Suckless gang, and the Suckless gang are Plan 9ers, and I think that I can't think of many people who are more bitter and angry than Plan 9ers in a good way, right? Like I say, bitter and angry, salt of the earth. The Suckless people really feel that the world took a wrong turn, possibly at the creation, but definitely after people started implementing Unix and didn't listen to the people who invented Unix, who said stop that at once and join us on our voyage to Plan 9. So the Suckless people try to push back against the drapery and ornamentation of modern life. They're sort of like I wouldn't say the Puritans, but maybe some sort of Scottish Protestant sect. And one of the things that they wrote was a thing called DWM, which is a tiling window manager, written in C, and I don't know how many lines of code it is, but it 2000, right? So it's never going to get bigger than 2000. If you want it to get bigger, you can, because you could just add code to it yourself, which is frankly expected, because the only way to change any of the configurations is by changing the code. Let me show you. Where Where did it go? It would have gone into downloads. So if you want to change things like the screen settings or the shortcuts in DWM, you actually change the C code. So this is the these are the keys that set various things up. Here are like the other keys. This is all in a Linux structure, and I actually have changed mine a little bit. You can see here that these are like different commands to run. So for instance, on this one, I think it's running D menu, and when I press caps lock, which is hyperkey, and P, I get up this thing called Roffy, and that lets me choose different windows or run different commands. DWM, the file, oh no, it's going to be in local bin, is, what's that, 75K? It wasn't actually written in 1969, but it feels like it was. And it's a perfectly good windowing system. I can switch between different screens. I can have different filters on things. I can't remember the keys to do that, but there's my OBS running in the screen 7, and then I can jump back by pressing hyper 1. It just does everything that I kind of would want, or at least it does enough to get to the next part of my changelog. So we make it runnable. This is just, I uploaded it to IPFS, and IPFS is a service that lets you find files not by where they're stored, but what their contents are. So this little bit here, this thing that starts with QMP, that is effectively a hash of this DWM file, which I'm downloading. So basically that can only be, it's not actually quite a hash of that, but we'll leave it be. That can only be the copy of DWM that I put up. So so that just seemed to be a good way of guaranteeing next time I run this that that's deterministically gonna pick it up. Oh god, CDE was so terrible. I never really used CDE. I just had to like nurse people who were traumatized by it. Then I did this other thing. So like, you're gonna ask, how do you set everything up to run DWM, given that everything was set up to use KFCE? Actually, it's pretty easy to set up another Windows manager if you just follow the way that X Windows was originally written to run, which is to create an .xsession file in your home directory. I think only Debian really sets it up this way. Most Unixes have an xsession file in the etc. Is this the kind of thing you want me talking? Yeah, of course it is. I mean, just feel free to interrupt. And if you go into the Discord channel, I'm actually experimenting with being on the audio there, so you can actually talk directly into my brain if you want. And I would suggest doing that because I'm so overwhelmed by inputs right now that if you start talking into this, I might just start doing what you tell me to do, like TV anchor personnel. Okay, so this is an xsession file. The important thing you can see here is at the end, it actually runs the window manager. This bit here is a little weird, but basically what it's doing is it's launching dbus, which a lot of things need on Linux. It's a way for different programs to communicate with each other. And it's like going launch dbus, and then when you've launched dbus, kick off the display manager. So it's like when this file here is the thing that starts when you start X Windows, and this file ends with, oh, raise the curtain, start the window manager, and then doesn't return from that until you actually quit the window manager. So I guess we could put something down here, and that would actually happen after you've quit your window manager, but that would be weird. So so this is me pulling in that stuff that defines the DPI. This is me turning my caps key into a hyper key. This is the stuff that I can't remember who suggested this yesterday, but this is an almost acceptable way to get the caps lock key to both work as a hyper key, which is kind of like a shift key, an extra shift key, and generate escape. So it's not quite right like in my original setup for this. If you I don't know how boring I'm being, but it keeps me amused. If I hit caps lock on its own and then lift it up again, it would send an escape. Whereas if I press caps lock and press something else, it would be like pressing the hyper key and pressing that key, but no escape button would be pressed. In this setup, the escape button is pressed and the hyper thing works. So, and I found a few occasions where you don't want that to happen, but not so many that it's actually been a bit much of a problem. And I used to have a much more cumbersome way of doing this, so I'm actually gonna keep with this for a little bit. This sets the background to black, as you can see there. Otherwise it would be sort of Kirker 1988 grey tones. I guess left pointer is my cursor. I guess it's pointing to the left. Is that what it's doing? And then it starts. And that's all you need. After you've done that, you'll just go straight into DWM. And I like that, because I don't really know what's going on when I use GNOME and these things. And what I don't know scares me at my age. Now, I fear that which I do not understand. And so I'm going back to doing all of these things. All right, so that's the X session. Let's have a look at what else we did in the changelog. That's a lie, look at that. So that basically replaces this, which I was just doing manually at that time to make things vaguely tolerable. Then I create, this is like a thing that I've been doing for years now. I almost didn't tell you how many years. I divide everything in my home directory into things that are public, which, you know, I wouldn't care if the whole world saw, and things that are private, which I want to keep to myself. And everything that's not in the public or the private directory, I at least try and kind of symlink out to those. And maybe if you stick around, you'll see I've got two utilities that sort of move dot files, initiation files, and things like that into either public or private, depending on what I think of them. This comes from, I will tell you how long this ago. This is like 15 years ago, when I became kind of obsessed by the difference of public and private on the internet and in life. And between you and me, I'm planning on writing a book about that, a book that I've been thinking about writing also for like 10 years. And that's the other thing I'm going to do apart from streaming this year. I'm going to sit down and write this book that will be called, you heard it here first, Public, Private, Secret, Alone. And I'll probably do some streaming of me writing that book, because I've seen a couple of other people do that, and it's really It's really the Studio Fortress at this moment mass mailing literary agents in New York to pitch this idea. The God, if somebody hasn't done it in like 15 years, then I figure that no one else finds this as interesting as me. This is from a blog post that I have to put Oblomov here. I won't find it. Here we go. This is going to scare you a tuglo. This was you would have read this in October the 13th, 2003. That's when I wrote this. And everything's broken. Etogla, everything. This was a blog post. I'll stick it in. Can I stick it in the channel from here? There must be a way I can do that. This was a blog post I wrote and got almost everything wrong, which is how it should be, right? Pretty much everything I got wrong in that. I was like, I underestimated the corrupting effects of power on Silicon Valley. I was scornful of, oh, we're looping. There's a chat thing down here somewhere, right? This is gonna work. Often this works. I'm a genius. Can I? All right. There we go. But the thing I did get right is the idea that people were coming to terms with a different public and private sphere. And I've been thinking about this a lot more, and I won't bore you now, but you can read that blast from the past, and then maybe when I start writing it, we can talk about it some more, because I would be really interested in your ideas about it. Okay, so I'm going to send this web browser over to F2. So now when I do F2, I'll instantly go there, but we can mostly sit in F1. Shall I tell you how broken Google is right now? So I've noticed, I try and use Creative Commons licensed music. Well, I do. All of this stuff that I stream, if I stream music or anything, it's Creative Commons licensed. I back this up onto YouTube. 2 of my videos have now been monetized, which means they have ads in them. And they have ads in them because there was a copyright claim made on them by somebody who is the agent for the band that wrote them. But the band who wrote them licensed them under CC license attribution, so they can't take that back, right? But now they're effectively, in theory, making money from my 0 views YouTube videos. But there are many levels of irony here, probably not least of which is that they did a takedown order on like an EFF employee over Creative Commons music. Happens quite a bit. Corey got stuck with a DMCA takedown from the Lawyers for Bird Scooters for linking to an article that would tell you how to reprogram the bird scooters. And what's going on outside? Maybe I just need to take a quick break. I'm sorry if I've been kind of doing less of the coding, but I just want to go and see what's going on. I'll be back in a moment, I hope. I'm back. I think I'm back. Yeah, I'm back.
Well, that was exciting for your podcast.
I know. I went into privacy mode, so... But maybe one of the audios was connected, so that'll just be like the sound of like... Bustling and crashing.
Slamming. Packages.
Okay. Well, I think that broke me out of like a funk anyway, because I was talking endlessly about 15-year-old blog posts, so now I can just go and talk to these other things. So...
Let that guy rattle you, man.
I know, but sorry, I got slightly trolled by someone on the internet, and it's sort of, it always kind of like puts me in a weird mood. Okay, this is why I don't actually go out onto social media that much. I mean, this is true for a lot of people, I think, but I'm sort of trying to work out new ways of demarcating my public and my private life. You see, it all links together. So and I think one of the ways that I'm trying to do it is to always approach interactive media or social media as a person, right? Like, I do not like the concept of altering your persona in order to conform with the requirements of creating a popular or a high-level celebrity star. So I'm certainly not doing that. writing Linux stuff here on Twitch. All right, what's next? Move over zshrc. All right, that's a pretty good idea, because then we can start having some nice nice command line action. So I actually have a few RC commands files this, yeah, you see, I need it. Let's put this into downloads. Okay. Yeah, that's not all of them either. There's one more. There we go. I use zshell, and I actually use zshell because the original author of Bash once tried to get me drunk and run off with my girlfriend. So that's why I use zshell. My zshell settings have this structure where you have a basic zshell, which is this one, that sets most things up, and then you have ones for each of your computers, like servers and things like that, and they have like additional tweaks in them, which, while I'm like weirdly name dropping, that is something that I ripped off some file XOR that was written by Jamie Zawinski. And I went, that's a good idea. That's a good way of customizing these things. Unfortunately, I have let that get very messy over the last few years. I'm a bit scared to show you this, but let's see. Okay, all right. Well, most of this is pretty sensible. Let's go through it and see what stuff needs to be. Wow, what is that about? Profile startup, PS4, exec. Who knew that this was in here? Profile startup. Okay, I was sensible enough to put in a web link when I wrote this. So let's see what this web link has to say. Okay, so this is like something to do with my prompt, I guess. And do I ever actually set prompt startup? Does this ever actually run? Oh look, there's a sort of xtrace thing. This might be for debugging. Software archaeology, profiling zshrc. Oh, look at this. This looks promising. Today's blazing hardware, blah, blah, blah. Look at that. That looks very... Oh, look, so it's for profiling the startup system. Interesting. So at some point in the past, I must have been trying to debug this file. Understandable. Should I keep that? Well, if I should document it. Profiling slow zshell startups. Set profile startup was true to run. Let me just test that is actually the case. I haven't actually installed zshell. This is exciting. I think this is only the second thing I've installed. Let's put that into the changelog. I'm sort of aware these days of when I'm doing repetitive actions and sort of start thinking about how to not make them repetitive actions. I feel let's have a look. I feel very pedagogical today. Like I feel like I'm in a sort of teachery mode, and I have teaching in my genes, right? Like my family, I come from a family of teachers, but I distrust the authority of teachers. So let me try and break out of that. All right, install zshrc. I think we can now just make do with install zshrc, copied over and tidied up zshrc, created zshrc yacht. Okay. We're in down. Okay, so copy from the downloads directory. You know, I think I'm going to do this like one line at a time, one setup at a time. Let's do downloads. Well, actually, to actually use this, I might as well actually run it, see how far it goes. Ooh, interesting. I see. I guess that's printing the time. And then it would if there had been a file. Okay, well, it seems to be running. So let us keep that like that. All right. What does this mean? Interesting. Set style comp install file name. What is set style? I always put a few spaces when I'm searching man piles at the beginning. Does it not really helping here, but it sometimes helps in like trying to find. I wonder if this would work better. Not really. There we go. It's used to define and look up styles. Styles are pairs of names and values, where the values consist of any number of strings, all right? It's a weird thing to call them. They sound like hashes. No, I can't do that because I'm not booted up. guess this is telling it to install files. I mean, this is something that has been added, it seems to me, by another program. Did I not pick that up? Here we go. What does it do? Well, we can definitely improve it by putting in $home. And this might have a better chance of working somewhere else. Okay, auto load component. Doesn't appear to have done much, but maybe other things will happen in the followings. My family is writing an Inform 7 game and they're very excited, and I can't quite work out what they're excited about. I'm not going to ask. Inform 7 is such a good it's a way of writing text adventures that you write using text adventure style command. Like, it's mind-blowing. Basically, you write your game as though you were describing a room in a text adventure. So here's the source text. You go, the story genre is science fiction. The story headline is the release number is free. Like, and then you put in the actual text, and then the bits of the program are written in full sentences in the novel. It's pretty amazing, and Emily Shaw is a genius of some kind. Okay. So she blah, 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 where were we? We were doing this. We loaded that. We did component. I kind of want to know what autoload component does. That's the whole point in having these sessions. It is about completion. Let me see. Component. Stop this one. Do that one. It implies that you actually have to run weird. I think this stuff should really be at the end. Okay, that now has auto completion working. So I did man and then press tab, and previously that would have just auto completed a file name, but now it's auto completing man pages, which is what you would want it to do. So say here begin. Initialize. completion. And I'm pretty sure I can just do that at the end. Okay. Okay, this is for adding my own autocomplete. Nice. Okay, well, we'll probably should put that near the... This is various ways of auto-completing, which, you know what, I'm not gonna stream for much longer, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find out what the hell all of these things doing, because like I've always kind of like defaulted to certain tab completion systems, but I've never really, you know, thought deeply about it, man. Okay. This stuff, I'm pretty sure that what this does is it loads in Bash's completion stuff. Let's have a look. Bash component. Yeah, there we go. Nice. All right, let's copy those across. Emblaze is the email system that I use. Time here is a utility that I wrote. And vimbin is another really simple utility I wrote. Do I want to have these set up now? I think it might be a little early to have them actually. Yeah. I'm going to keep that in though. All right. Set style completion. Wow. You can like change completion based on context. This is insane. So what am I saying here? Looks like I'm saying that things should be verbose, which I was erring towards that anyway. The descriptions are in the format BDB. Okay. Group name, and then is that just a, what is that? That looks like a, these all look like smart quotes. I wonder if this has ever worked. What is group name? Okay, that just lists different types separately. Or would do if that wasn't a smart quote. Alright. Okay, we probably don't want to do that. Why don't we make this conditional? If I don't know whether that's right. I'm just having a guess. Ooh. What you looking for?
Kindle.
Ah. Good guess. Oh, accept. Okay, it's going to be a double double. Like that. Alright. Almost at the end of my hour. I like it. This is super important. I wonder if that should be... oh, well, this all stuff is going to be at the end anyway, so let's do this. I never understood umask. Is it 7? This is obviously a built-in. The umask is set to mask well, thank you. Well, I guess maybe I should read that umask. I bet I've tried to understand this so many times in the past. I wonder if someone's come up with a better explanation since I last looked. I see. Here's the money shot. Of the permission, 644. Right. So that means users can access this, read and write. Other people cannot. That seems kind of reasonable. I wonder if anybody complains about it being a 2-2. That 027. Well, there you go. I want Debian default state Debian umask. This is super interesting. I wonder if there's a way that I can just Hey, you're still here. Yeah, but isn't that interesting that they're sort of reconsidering what the version should be? Default perhaps. Well, I'm going to change mine. I'm going to change it to 02. Wait, I'm changing the wrong one. That is my prompt. The good thing about this prompt, by the way, is if you paste it, it's just comments, because anything here is a comment in zshrc, and I assume bash actually. Yeah. I don't know, it's pretty useful. I'm used to it now. Alright. Let's make this. I like all of these, and they're also mostly documented. Does hist therapy? Okay. Share history. Pretty obvious, I think, but sheet history. Alright, so that means multiple SSH systems. I don't actually like correct that much. It saved my bacon on a couple of times, but I wonder if... Interesting, correct all. Why not? Ignore dupes. These aliases have not been flushed out for a very long time. Look, there's even one that put a finger command in there. Amazing. I'm gonna not use that PS abbreviation because I guess it is usually what I mean. What is the X in that? Those that don't have terminals. Yes. What did I do? Is this what I look like when Carlos Spazio? I wonder what I really mean usually. Whoa. Hello, it's Linux. I am setting up a new machine, and I'm doing it completely from scratch. So, in fact, you can see here the changelog, and I've hit a really early stage here.
Yeah, cool.
I
just wanted to really quickly brush my teeth.
So I'm now like peering at my old zshell setups and trying to like work out what the hell it was I meant when I was doing it. That is what I'm doing. It's neither coding nor DevOps. It's love. I love playing around with these things. I always have done. Like my dad was a radio amateur, and I guess he's like almost 90 now, and he still likes playing with radios. And radios must have been so revolutionary when he was growing up. These amazing devices that let you talk from one side of the world to the other without restriction. And I never really got into radios, but I understand, like sometimes you have a thing that is a lifetime that you just keep doing. Okay. So, I'm not sure if I like this PS. What is it going to be like if I don't do that? What do other people like? I'm going to look up favorite PS options. Is it going to give me anything? Here we go. I always sort of liked, oh, so it triggers a different style of printing. Okay. PSEF looks kind of cool. Who knew? Is that the same? I like that more actually. HTOP. Oh, I haven't installed anything. Yeah, I like PS when I don't want the burden of HTOP, and also of course for grepping through it. So I can go grep Firefox. Well, I could if I was using that, and then I would have like a bunch of things, and then I could cut one of those. What is it? What is it? The field. Oh, I can't remember. But like you can use cut to cut out the. Actually, what I would probably do is go walk. Is that going to work? As God intended. And then I would have all of those, and I could, like, if I decided to kill them, I could just run them to kill. But I'm not going to do that because I like my Firefox. So I've been thinking a lot recently about like the Unix way and trying to do things more in this style than using even things like top and htop, which are these sort of strange text user interfaces, like you cursor down in them, or you have different buttons to press. And in fact, I'm trying to get more into like writing piped commands and splicing things together like that. That's actually how I read my email now. I use this thing called Emblaze, and Emblaze lets you read your email on the command line and pipe your email around and filter for certain things. It's pretty funky. Anyway, it's just another obsession. It's just another attempt to like try and understand the basic nature of all of these ancient ideas. You know, PSEF is pretty funky. Forest, but I don't think that forest. That's interesting. You can like actually create an output that makes sense on the fly. Huh. Is there like a colorized PS? Yeah. You can use grep, I guess. Yeah, I know the feeling. That's one of the reasons I'm sort of trying to go back to using the terminal. It turns out you can actually get a lot of things done there, and things are sort of set up for it to work in a simple way that way. Unless, you know, you're in an IDE or something like that where everything is kind of connected to you anyway. I'm almost going to wrap up soon, but yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up. But it's really nice meeting you, Juan Carlos Betzel. You use Emacs. You see Emacs, an operating system in its own right. But hey, thank you for joining us. I'm sorry I've been going for an hour and a half already, so I guess I'll wrap up. But it was really, I'm talking to my phone. Why am I talking to my phone? It was really nice seeing you, even for this last bit. And join me next time, and I try and make them contiguous so you can like sit and watch stuff. Thanks a lot. Speak to you soon.